Hello, my name's Matthew Coast, and welcome to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the big difference between men and women when it comes to how a relationship progresses. And this is often very shocking to the women that I talk to about it. And so I wanted to do a video about it and make sure everybody was on the same page here so that you know exactly what's going on. So I had a client, and her name's Deb. And she spent 3 years with a man who she told me she thought was doing everything right. So she went and met his friends. She was pursuing her, or he was pursuing her. You know, he was initiating calls, texts, setting up, planning dates. He said romantic things to her. He took her on vacations. They were saying all kinds of loving things to each other. They had pet names for each other, all the friends and family stuff, all that stuff was happening. And so she thought, it's been 3 years. We've been doing this. We're in this amazing relationship together. I'm so blessed. I'm so lucky. I'm so fortunate. And then I told her this secret. Actually, she watched one of my videos where I talked about this secret that most women don't actually know about men. And when I first told her this, when she first saw me talk about this, she did not believe me. And so here's what the secret is. None of those things that I just talked about, meeting his friends and family, going on vacations together, him pursuing you, right? Him initiating things and planning the dates, taking you out on romantic evenings, living together. No matter how long you've been together, doesn't matter any of those things, right? None of those things mean that you're in or even moving towards a real relationship. So just let that sink in there for a moment, right? There's only one thing. There's only one thing that means that you're in a real relationship. And it's this. You've talked about it. It's something that I call a relationship kickoff conversation. And if you haven't done that, if you haven't had that conversation yet, then none of those other things matter. And so it is possible. I want to throw this out there, right? It is possible that if you haven't talked to a man about whether you're in a relationship or not, it is possible that in his mind, he thinks that you're in a relationship. However, you should never, ever assume that he does. You shouldn't assume that you're in a relationship. We get it all the time in our community where women are like, well, he did this, he said this, but he's acting like we're in a relationship. Does that mean we're in a relationship? The answer is no. And it's always no. You need to absolutely, every single time, you need to talk about it. So, and like I said, Deb, when she first heard me talk about this, she didn't believe me. And so she went, and I think it took like a week or two, but it was like bouncing around in her mind, like, oh my God, is it true? Are we in a relationship? Are we not in a relationship? And so she decided to go and talk to him about it, right? Because she wanted to know if this is possible, if it was possible that she's not in a relationship with this man. And sure enough, when she asked him about it, when she started talking to him about it, here's what he said. He said, I told you from the beginning, I wasn't looking for anything serious. We're just having fun. This is after 3 years of being together. I mean, it can sound crazy. And I was actually talking to a friend of mine about this the other day, and he was just like, wow, that's pretty nuts. But it's one of those things with dating and relationships. You need clarity, right? Because a lot of times people have different expectations. They have different things that happen from their past. I know a lot of times women want to crap on men for doing this or whatever. But we're going to talk about how Deb turned things around here in just a second. But usually with men, right, it's a little bit different. Men, generally speaking, have a little bit different way of looking at things. And with women, generally it's like what we were just talking about earlier, right? You meet each other, you get to know each other, you pursue each other or whatever, you end up hooking up and you give each other pet names and you meet friends and family and you go on vacations, you move in together, and then possibly you end up getting married. And that's like the relationship progression that most women look at, right? They're like, oh, he's giving me pet names. We're moving forward. I met his friends and family. We're moving forward. But that's not how most men look at this. Most men, on the other hand, have two different categories. Sometimes there's three. There might even be four, depending on the way that you look at it. But I think the best way to look at it is that there are two different categories. And one category is kind of this dating category where you guys are doing all these things and you're not quite really committed to each other. There's kind of this process of getting to know each other and learning about each other and figuring out what it is that you want and are you right for each other and all that kind of stuff. And then there's a relationship, right? That's for men, right? This is the way that most men, in my experience, look at relationships. You're either dating or you're in a relationship. And it's kind of a switch. With most men, it's kind of a switch. When he decides that he wants to be in a relationship with you, he lets you know, he starts moving things forward. He wants to make it official and all that kind of stuff. And if he's not doing that, that's a concern, right? So most guys, like I said, when they decide, they go all in. And all of those things that we were talking about before, the pet names, the meeting friends and family, going on vacations, moving in together, all of those things, him giving you a key. Sometimes I hear about that from women. All of that can happen in either one of these categories. So if he feels like you're just dating, he can do all those things and still not feel like you're in a relationship. And if you're in a relationship, he can do all of those things and, it's just a normal, natural thing. And so if those things exist, if he's doing all those things in the progression, it doesn't mean that you're moving towards a relationship. That's the whole point that we're trying to get across here. So if all those things that we just talked about aren't there, it should be a giant red flag for you. And what a red flag means is that it's something that you should pay a lot more attention to, right? So if a guy's not having you meet his friends and family, if he's not, wanting to take you on vacations that he's going on, if he's not, doing all those things that most women see as a man progressing the relationship, that should be a giant red flag for you. And what is going on here with this man? Is he not interested in a relationship, which hopefully you've talked about, because I talk about that a lot. But they've actually done studies on this. And what they found is that around the 6 to 8 month mark, most men, around 99% of men, it's almost completely unanimous, know what kind of a relationship that he wants to have with you at that point. So if he's been dating you for 6 to 8 months, almost every single man out there already knows what slot he's going to put you in. Are you relationship material? Are you just dating for the rest of your life? Are you, going to be in get married and all that kind of stuff? There are some things that a guy might feel a little bit reserved about, right? If he's got past trauma, if he's got issues, if he's got, everybody in his family got married and divorced and it was really painful and everybody hates each other in this family, all that kind of stuff can make him reserved, right? He might be like, hey, I want to do this with you, but I'm scared, right? Or, maybe he's been following a bunch of red pill MGTOW blogs or something, and they've brainwashed his mind, right? All those things can make him reserved in whether he actually wants to move forward with a real relationship with you, specifically, especially marriage and things like that. And so what did Deb do? So what did Deb do after she found this out? How did she turn things around with her man? Well, she used something that I call the power phrase. And I talk about this in my programs that I teach. But basically what she did was she let him know in no uncertain terms. So she made it very clear to him that if he didn't step up, he was going to lose her forever. And after some thinking, he went away. He kind of pulled away after that for a little bit, because a lot of times men need some time to process things and think about things. And I have some friends, some mentors who are really, really successful business people. And one of the things that they do specifically is they have thinking time, right? Like this is how men work, right? He has like thinking time where he schedules it into his calendar when he's like, every Tuesday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. is thinking time. And I'm going to spend that time thinking about the challenges in my life and how to overcome them and all those kinds of things, right? So a lot of times men need time to process things and they need time to think about things. And so this is often what happens. Guys will end up pulling away and they will need to think about things. But after some thinking, he ended up coming back and deciding that she was the one and slapping that ring on her finger and being like, I want to be with you forever. You're the one for me and I don't want to lose you. So let's do this. I'm sorry for being such an idiot for 3 years, but let's do this, right? And so that's a very, very common thing to have happen. And so